What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Break Your Boundaries YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about travel videos. I'm going to show you how to improve your travel videos with a few simple tips. Alright guys, so let's talk about these travel videos. You know you want to make your travel videos better, and there are a bunch of ways that you can do that. I'm going to give you a few tips today, and I hope that it can help you make your videos that much better. So the first tip I'm going to talk about is creating movement. If you notice, any kind of Hollywood movie and most other kind of dramatic or cinematic films, the camera is always moving. So it helps when you add movements to your shot. Even if they are small or slight movements, it makes a big difference because it keeps your attention on the subject, whatever is being shown on the video, and it just makes it that much more interesting. A fixed tripod is typically not the best thing to create engagement or to create an interesting image within a film. So create that movement, move your camera. You can use a stabilizer, or if you want to try practice using your hands, there's definitely ways that you can do this. I recommend, if you want to try with handheld, getting a camera like a Sony camera with the in-body stabilization makes it that much easier to create movement with your hands without having to worry about all the shake. But I will say, back in my Canon Rebel days, I tried to create movement with the camera with my hands without that in-body stabilization. So it can definitely be done. It's a little bit trickier with those cameras, but definitely try it out and create that movement in your shots. The second tip I want to talk about is mixing up the speed of your clips. So this is a big one. Typically, if you want to film regular speed, you film in 24 frames per second. 24 frames per second to the human eye is most natural. So that's why all films are typically in 24 frames. Some online videos are 30 frames, and other kind of broadcast videos sometimes 30 frames per second. But typically all films and any kind of video that you're watching at normal speed is 24 frames per second. But what I'm suggesting in your travel videos is mix up those speeds. So you definitely want to get those slow motion shots in there if you can. So to do so, I would recommend, if your camera has the capability, film in 60 frames per second. So what that means is, and what frames per second actually means, is there are either 24 pictures in every second, or in this case, 60 pictures in every second. So there are more pictures in every second of the video. In the case of 60 frames per second, you can slow that video down to about 40%, and it will look very smooth because it has those extra images within each second of the video. If you can, film in 60 frames per second to get the slow motion effect. Now, I will also say, you need to keep in mind, if you're shooting these videos, when you're filming at 24 frames per second, it is best to keep your shutter speed about double that. So at 1/50th of a second. You want to keep your shutter speed higher than the frames per second because you want to create a natural amount of motion blur. When you're shooting 24 frames per second, I recommend hovering around 1/50th for the shutter speed. So that's 1/50th of a second. The shutter speed is important. That's how fast the shutter is opening and closing. So definitely keep it around there, and you can deviate a little bit from there, but that's the best rule of thumb. And then, like I said, if you're filming 60 frames per second, you want to get that shutter speed up to 1/125th. So it's about double, and that will keep it looking proper and looking right to our eyes. So as I said, you want to mix up those speeds with your travel videos. So maybe have a little segment that's 24 frames per second, and then jump into slow motion and have that nice, smooth, silky effect. It makes it look super cinematic. I love that look. And one thing to mention though is you want to mix it up. You don't want to have all slow motion or all regular speed. It's nice to mix it up, to have both in there. So a mix of 24 and 60 frames per second is super nice. There are other options, but let's keep it simple for now. Mix up those speeds in your travel videos. It'll make it more dynamic, it'll make it more interesting, and it'll keep people watching longer. Within our travel videos, we definitely want people to stay engaged and be interested in what they're watching. And it's really fun because you get to share your story or the way that you saw things or the way that you want to reframe things within the video. And mixing up the speeds really captures that. Tip number 3 to improve your travel videos: focus on sound. The sound is so important, and that's something that I have learned about more recently. When I first started making travel videos, it was all the montages with, music and cool images, but I neglected one of the biggest things, and this is a huge, huge amateur mistake. So many filmmakers make this mistake. They do not focus on the audio. Audio is super important. It draws you into the video. This is audio and visuals. So you need to pay attention to that audio because, oh, here's a car coming by. I don't know if you heard that car whizzing by my house, but that's what I think about now. I pay attention to audio all the time when I'm shooting. So with travel videos, what you can do you can have these really creative things that you can do with sound. So something that I started doing with a recent video, my Embrace the Unknown video that I filmed on Cape Cod this past summer, I recorded audio separately on an audio recorder, and then I mixed all that audio into my film. And that's something that you can do to add layers of sound and make it that much more interesting. There's another car. And you can make it that much more interesting when you have that sound mixed in there with your image. And then you also, another tip is pay attention to the music. The music is so important. But with audio, it's not only about the music, it's also about the sound effects. So you're on the beach, get those wave sound effects, get those birds chirping, get those nice, effects that make it feel like you're there. Not only do you have a beautiful image, but you have beautiful sound. And with that layer with the music, you can make something really amazing. And one thing I started doing is layering multiple tracks of audio. I'm still learning about it. It's a learning process, but you can really, really take your films to the next level when you have that audio in there. Pay close attention to the audio within your travel videos. It's something that a lot of people neglect, and if you choose to put the time in and make that effort, it will certainly show and you'll be able to hear it. So definitely focus on the sound for your travel videos. I just gave you 3 tips to improve your travel videos. I'm gonna jump in with a bonus tip, and that is, this goes for all filmmaking, but I think I wanna mention it for travel videos as well because it's super important. And vary up those angles. Get those wide shots that show where you're at, those, establishing shots, could be drone shots, could be wide angle shots of the place where you are showing or the setting, but mix it up. If your subject is in the video, if you have a person that you're focusing on, get some medium close-ups, get some close-ups, vary up the angles, and try to find those unique angles. Any kind of visual imagery, if you can find those unique angles that are much different from the way humans actually perceive things, that is where you will find, in my opinion, the best and most engaging thing to watch. Because if it's from eye level, it doesn't seem that interesting typically because it's how humans typically see it. But if you go really low or you go high or you just vary up those angles, you can really, really bring your video to life. Guys, let me recap. Tip number 1 was creating movement within your travel videos. Tip number 2, mix up those speeds, play with that regular and slow motion. Tip number 3, focus on that sound. It's super important. It really will bring people into that video and make them feel like they're really there. And then that bonus tip number 4 was talking about mixing up the angles and finding unique angles that will bring your videos to the next level. I've learned so much by focusing on these things and getting slowly better with my travel videos. I've come a long way and I hope you will too. So I hope these tips helped you. I hope you can improve your travel videos. I'd love to see some of yours. If you have any questions or comments, or you have any other ideas for videos that I should make, please drop those down below in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. Please hit that like button, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the Break Your Boundaries YouTube channel. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Guys, keep creating, keep being dope, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.